Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are continuing with Act 4 today. So, yesterday, or the last time we read, I should say, we read scene 1 of Act 4. And in that scene, Macbeth shows up at a cavern, and the witches conjure three apparitions, which lead him to believe that he is safe. So he feels very secure momentarily. However, the witches then show him a line of kings, and the last king in the line is holding a mirror, right? And so that mirror would reflect the image of all of those kings that are standing in line. And this was obviously conjured because Macbeth had felt a little bit concerned about whether or not Banquo's children would ever reign. And so remember, he visits these witches to find out about his destiny and to find out whether or not he is going to be secure in his position of power. All right. Eventually, okay, at the end of the scene, Macbeth learns that Macduff has fled to England. Okay, so even though the apparitions have stated that no man of woman born shall harm Macbeth, he is still going to make sure that Macduff is basically not a threat to him by going after him. Okay, so he wants to kill Macduff, but little does he know until the end of this scene, of course, that Macduff has fled to England to meet with Malcolm and King Edward. Okay, King Edward is the King of England. Okay, Seward is the English general of the army, which we saw in Act 3. Okay, so now we are in Fife. We're at Macduff's castle, all right? And you may recall from the end of last scene that Macbeth is going to kill Macduff's family, okay? That was his intention anyway. Lady Macduff, what had he done to make him fly the land? You must have patience, madam. He had none. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors. You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear. So at the start of this scene, Lady Macduff is expressing her anger at her husband's flight, right? He just gets up and leaves, right? And there's not really much explanation. He doesn't fill her in on what's going on. And Ross here is just a thane, just really a messenger. And he is trying to mitigate Lady Macduff by saying, you don't know whether he left out of wisdom or fear, right? So she's assuming that he just left the family, okay? But maybe there's reason behind it, and she is not considering that. So Ross is trying to get her to see that. Wisdom, to leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion, and his titles in a place from whence himself does fly? He loves us not. He wants the natural touch. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her her young ones in her nest against the owl. All is the fear, and nothing is the love. As little is the wisdom where the flight so runs against all reason. My dearest coz, I pray you school yourself. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the fits of the season. I dare not speak much further, but cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves, when we hold rumor from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea each way and move. I take my leave of you. Shall not be long, but I'll be here again. Things at the worst will cease or else climb upward to what they were before. My pretty cousin, blessings upon you. So he's trying to get her to have patience with her husband, right? He says, cruel are the times when we really don't even know ourselves, okay? And then he says, I have to go, okay? Now, Lady Macduff now turns to her son. Fathered he is, and yet he's fatherless. I'm so much a fool. Should I stay longer, it would be my disgrace and your discomfort. I take my leave at once. Ross leaves. Lady Macduff. Sirrah, your father's dead, and what will you do now? How will you live? As birds do, mother. What, with worms and flies? What, with what I get, I mean, and so do they. Poor bird, thou didst thou thou didst never fear the net nor lime, the pitfall nor the gin. Why should I, mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead, for all your saying. Yes, he is dead. How wilt thou do for a father? Nay, how will you do for a husband? Why, I can buy me 20 at any market. Then you'll buy 'em to sell 'em again. Thou speakest with all thy wit, and yet, in faith, with what wit enough for thee? Was my father a traitor, mother? Ay, that he was. What is a traitor? Why, one that swears and lies. And be all traitors that do so? Every one that does so is a traitor and must be hanged. And must they all be hanged that swear and lie? Every one. Who must hang them? Why, the honest men. Then the liars and swearers are fools, for there are liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang them up. Now God help thee, poor monkey, but how wilt thou do for a father? If he were dead, you'd weep for him. If you would not, it were a sign that I should quickly have a new father. Poor prattler, how thou talkest! Now suddenly, in the middle of this conversation, which you don't have to understand word for word, I think the basics of what I want you to understand here is that we do see a conversation happen between Lady Macduff and her son, and I think that is to kind of villainize what is about to happen, right? It's more cruel because we get to see the humanity between this mother-son duo here, okay? Now, a messenger comes on the scene suddenly, okay? And I love the movie of this because he kind of comes running in and he's out of breath and he says, "Bless you, fair dame, I am not to you known, though in your state of honor I am perfect." He tells her, right, "I am knowledgeable, I have knowledge for you. I doubt some danger does approach you nearly. If you will take a homely man's advice, be not found here. Hence with your little ones. To fright you thus, methinks I am too savage. To do worse to you were fell cruelty, which is too nigh your person. Heaven preserve you, I dare abide no longer." Okay, so you can sense that he is hastily trying to get her out of there, all right? And then he himself is probably also trying to get out of there because Macbeth at this point, I don't think really cares who is in his way, but he just wants to get everybody out of his way. Okay, so this messenger exits and Lady Macduff says, "Whither should I fly? I have done no harm. But I remember now I am in this earthly world, where to do harm is often laudable, to do good sometime accounted dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm?" And Lady Macduff here is like, "Why should I have to run? I've done nothing wrong," right? And then at that, the murderers enter. And she says, "What are these faces?" Right? So she's never seen them before. Okay, so who are you? Who are these people? "Where is your husband?" the murderer says. "I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayest find him." "He is a traitor," the murderer says. Now that's an interesting concept, right? So, and the son has been talking about traitors too, and the mom is explaining to the son what a traitor is, right? It appears that Macduff is a traitor, right? Because he is betraying the current king, but he's being loyal to the rightful king. If you think about it, Malcolm is over in England and he does not want to um, honor the current king because he knows that it's not the natural order of things, right? So again, kind of appearance versus reality is a theme that's being developed also in this scene, okay? "He is a traitor," the murderer said. "Thou liest, thou shag-eared villain. What, you egg?" So everybody usually laughs at this line. This is a really funny line. "What, you egg?" And then he stabs the little boy. Okay, this is a very young child that's probably playing this part. "Young fry of treachery." He has killed me, mother! Run away, I pray you!" Lady Macduff exits crying, "Murder! Murder! Murder!" followed by the murderers bearing the son's body. Okay, and you can imagine that the murderers will definitely catch up with her as well. All right, and so that is the end of another scene in Macbeth.